All right, in today's episode of Paint Talk, I'm going to be talking about technology in relation to painting. It's going to be kind of split up into two major topics. The first one being technology and how you use that in your process of painting. I'm going to talk about the good and the bad things to be aware of. And then the other topic is how we take in painting or learn painting and how technology can help us or hurt us. All right, if you're new to the channel, then welcome to Paint Coach. My name is Chris Fornatero, and I'm here to help simplify oil painting so that you can get better faster. And this is actually a first for Paint Talk, at least I think it is. Can't really remember. I think this is the first time I've actually have shown a plein air painting as the time-lapse video. So if you like plein air painting, if you want to see more on it, I actually haven't made that many videos on it because honestly, it's very difficult to film yourself plein air painting. It's already hard enough to go out and plein air paint, but to bring out the camera equipment and to actually film yourself and have it look good and be done right, it's difficult. But if you want to see that, let me know in the comments section and I will work that into a future video. All right, now let's talk about technology and painting. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is working from photos. Everyone's got a high definition camera in their pocket, so it's very easy to take photos and then paint from those photos. This is probably what a majority of people do. I myself do it. I've talked about it in the past, and I've always said, yes, working from life is the best. You're just going to see more. You're going to get more out of it. When you paint from life, I like to say you're creating an image that is filtered through a person. Whereas when you take a picture, it's an image filtered through a camera, and then you take that image and then you filter through yourself. And there might be other filters along the way if you print it out, or what kind of screen you have it on could be different. And there's just, the less filters, the better, I say. But again, I am realistic and I understand that you can't always paint from life. I understand that it takes time and effort and resources to actually go out and paint outside, or to set up a still life, or to get someone to sit for a portrait. And I've said I'd rather you paint 5 times a week from photos than only twice a week from life. Now, I have gotten people asking me, is it okay to work from a computer screen? Or, a phone, an iPad, is that okay? Yeah, that's completely fine. That's actually what I prefer. Some people might not prefer that. If you have the means to print out very high quality photos, work from a hard copy, that might be better. I mainly don't do it just, from the practicality standpoint of not having to print out and waste ink and invest in a good printer to print out good photos to work from. Now, however, I do print out photos when I'm doing portraits for the drawing phase. They're black and white cheapo printouts on my home printer, but I like having it printed out and put right next to my canvas. That way I can easily dart my eyes back and forth to get a correct drawing. I even try and print it out to the same size that I'm going to be painting it. And I can get it to the same size in Photoshop. Now let's talk about Photoshop. I do use Photoshop a good amount. I think I use it more for teaching purposes. I like the paint filters. I actually utilize those in my Foundations of Oil Painting course just to drive home certain concepts and give good visuals for things like simplification and seeing shapes. You can also isolate colors. It helps a lot with that. I recently did a painting with a dinosaur in it, so I had to kind of compose that all up into Photoshop, so it helped there in terms of planning out a painting. A few of my students that I work with use it, and they say that they're really glad that they got it and it helps them a lot. Now, there are some negative aspects of working with photos that you should be aware of, and the main one that I see people do all the time is that they get too close to their photo. Even if it's a computer screen or hard copy photo, you can get really close to it, see a lot of detail, or even worse, you can zoom in and see every single little leaf. You really want to refrain from doing that. It's just not natural if you think about it. Like when I was painting this plein air landscape, I didn't stop and go walk up to little leaves on that tree on the right and see what every little leaf looked like or each little blade of grass. I was forced to stay a certain distance away, and I was forced to paint things a certain way based on how much information I could get from them. For example, I could see more detail in the grass right in front of me opposed to the grass way down at the end of the path. So I put in more detail in that grass in the foreground opposed to the grass in the background, and that's gonna help with adding depth to the painting. So if you are working from a screen, try really hard, especially at the beginning of your painting, to not get too close or too zoomed in. Like, always be working an arm's distance away from your painting. Always have your painting zoomed out. It's gonna help you a lot. Now, another bad thing about working from photos or just using a device to work from is you are one click away from a whole lot of distractions. Distractions are a painter's worst enemy. And you got a photo on your screen, and it's so easy for, bloop, oh, got an email, oh, got a notification, got a text, and you answer it, and before you know it, you do this and that, and a whole hour's gone by, and you haven't painted. You got to make a very conscious effort to get rid of distractions. Your painting time should be the time that you get away from all of that nonsense and focus on this one thing. Get lost in it, lose track of time. It feels so good. When I go and paint outside, I purposely don't bring my earbuds, so I'm not listening to music. I'm just listening to what's going on around me, being completely in that environment. I'm amazed that kids even draw or paint anymore. When I was really young, as far as I can remember, the number one thing I would do when I was bored was draw. If I was waiting at a restaurant, I would draw or color. If I was on a road trip, I would draw. Now kids have tablets and phones and all these screens and endless shows and games, and I feel like they're not even given the opportunity just to sit alone with their thoughts and be creative. Pick up a pencil, to pick up a crown or crane, crown. How do you say crown? But I got a really great story last week when I was out plein air painting. A nice young couple walked by with their little, must have been 4-year-old daughter, and they're like, oh, look at him, he's painting. And they told me that just last week she had a Bob Ross themed birthday party. I was like, that is awesome. So there is hope, but just do whatever you need to do to put yourself in the position where you're not going to be distracted. Turn your phone on airplane mode. Turn off the internet on your computer. Painting time is painting time. All right, now I want to talk about painting in terms of how we take in painting through technology, or we learn painting. It's amazing what the internet has done for painting in terms of having access to so many good painters and instruction and tutorials and videos. It is incredible. Like, I wish I had that when I was first starting out. There's never been a better time to be a painter. Whether you're trying to sell your work, whether you're trying to teach, just utilizing what's online to share what it is you do. I highly suggest that any painter out there use online resources as much as possible to show what you do. There are so many great painters out there on YouTube. I follow a lot of them. Andrew Tischler, he's great. He has a podcast. He's had some great guests. He's had like Brian Mark Taylor on that podcast, which is great. People like Slew. I think he just got a studio in Brooklyn, New York. Is actually bringing, painters in there and doing things. James Gurney has some of the best painting videos I've ever seen on YouTube. He's doing great stuff. Like in the drawing section, Stan Prokopenko's built an entire empire of drawing tutorials, and he's just giving out so much great, valuable information. And the thing is I feel that we're just scratching the surface of what is possible in terms of painting on YouTube. And it'd be so great to see collaborations with all these painters in a way and working together. Also, one of my favorite portrait painters, Michael Shane Neal, who I'm actually going to be taking a workshop with in September, has a Patreon page, and he has videos on there where he's just giving more valuable instruction, and it's great. Now, there are certain things to be aware of when, learning painting online and just seeing all these painters. And on one hand, like I was saying, it's great to have access to all these great painters and see all this great work and all this valuable information. But on the other hand, it can be overwhelming and it can be confusing. If you're trying to learn how to paint, I've talked about this before, bouncing around from instructor to instructor can have you spinning your wheels for a while because you can't really get a grip on one particular way of working and actually make progress and steps forward. I've also heard people say that they get unmotivated by seeing so many great painters that are so far ahead of them in their skills, and they're like, oh, like, why even bother? Like, these people are so far ahead. You shouldn't be thinking like that at all. You should be thinking the exact opposite. When you see work from people that are so far along, it should inspire you to show you what you could do. It's just a matter of time and effort. And don't ever compare yourself to other artists. Compare yourself to you. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, the last painting you did, and always be saying that your best paintings are ahead of you. Don't ever think that that good painting you did a week ago might have just been a fluke. Oh, you got lucky and you had a good painting. You're really not that good. No, it's not true. You are that good. You're better than what you think you are. And you just need to trust in the process of practice. You know, this isn't going to be the case for everybody, but if you find yourself feeling overwhelmed or never feeling like you're good enough or your paintings aren't good enough, you know, maybe limit the painters that you follow or limit the time that you spend online seeing all that. I mean, even myself, a lot of times I'm scrolling through my Instagram and it's just like one amazing painting after another, and it's overwhelming. And in a way, it's kind of like a false representation of painting because you're only seeing these great painters' best work a lot of the times. They're not showing their failed paintings of that day. So just like keep that in mind. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has failed paintings. I have tons of failed paintings. I've talked about it before. I have more failed paintings than I have successful paintings. All right, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Paint Talk. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Also hit that notification bell so you get notified right away whenever I release a new video. If you want to check out my Foundations of Oil Painting course, I got a link to that in the description below. Also down there's a link to my Patreon page where I've full painting video tutorials. And if you want to see what I'm painting on a daily basis, you can follow me on Instagram at Forza43. I'm Chris Fornatero here telling you to go get painting.